Hi, I'm Reggie Turner, and I'm here with Jim Miller. The Flip Side starts right now. Hi, welcome to the show. Tonight we're going to talk about a variety of topics, but Jim, let's start tonight with a little bit of look at elections, what's changed, our predictions, and as of the airing of the show, early voting will have started.
That is correct.
One thing that I would like to say before we get started, I know that we have a lot of fun with this. We personally know some of the folks that are running.
If not many.
If not many, and we have our opinions about those that we like and we don't like. But in the reality of it, all of these races are a dead heat right now because it's up to the voters at home to go to the polls and vote for their candidates that they believe in, and our voices should move the needle on who they vote for.
Well, I don't think our voices will move the needle, and I think that the majority of voters, there are certainly undecided voters.
Yes.
And the needle can be moved on those. What percentage of the population is that in Washington County? I really have no clue. There's no data that I've seen to support a number on that. That said, I think that the way we look at things, we, on most of the races, probably have as good of insight as any on this. We'll see.
Yeah,
It'll be interesting. I'm keeping track of our statistics. I'm going to update them tonight.
Excellent.
On each of the races. Now, I'm really upset that Terrence isn't here tonight. He is off for the night. But yeah, we'll have to get Terrence's predictions offline.
Well, let's make sure he missed an important night, so let's make sure his pay is docked.
We will absolutely do that.
All right, well, let's start local first. Let's jump in and talk about school board. Now, with school board, we've talked about that on previous occasions. You have three incumbents. You have Daryl Evans, Michael Gesford, and Linda Mary. They're facing challengers in Ethan Lowen, Fred Chavis, and Anthony Williams. I know before, Jim, you said that you felt as a whole the school board has done a pretty good job, and you thought before that it would be hard to move any of the incumbents out. Do you still feel that way?
Yeah, I do. I don't think that Mr. Lowen and Mr. Chavis have gotten out there as much as they need to move the needle. Mr. Williams is probably the most well-known of the candidates and of interest. Mr. Williams runs
Beacon House,
which is more or less a private school.
Right.
Which I think that's odd to me that he would be interested. But hey, if children are his focus and children are his passion, then I guess it makes perfect sense. I would say if there's any potential for movement, I would put it with Mr. Williams. I don't know him well. I have met him once, I will say that. That's about it. I know folks that work with him who speak very highly of him. But I think he's the only one that I would see as having a chance to move the needle. Because his passion for youth, I think, is well demonstrated in our community.
I would say this, what's interesting is I know the teachers union came out and endorsed some candidates in different races, but the teachers union did not endorse Anthony Williams.
No, they didn't.
They endorsed Linda Mary and Fred Chavis.
Is that a surprise?
Yes, a little bit of a surprise. But I would think that that moves Mr. Williams kind of back down the totem pole when the teachers union did not show him support. Now, here's the other thing I want to run by you. Kind of like in Frederick County where candidates are running as a slate, even though it's a nonpartisan race. So what you see here is Dale Evans, Michael Gesford, and Ethan Lowen. They're running as a slate. And since this is a countywide election, and there are many people that are going out to show their displeasure with the Biden administration and some of the struggles we're having in our economy, do you think that there's a possibility that Lowen could move up and bump Linda Murray out?
No. I don't think there's a snowball's chance in where of bumping Linda Murray out. Linda in my opinion, and in the opinion of those that I have spoken to about it, has been just a beacon of light for the school board. She is well informed, she is thoughtful, she is smart, she is willing to listen to more than one side of an argument. I think, frankly, I think there would be others that would be bumped out before Ms.
Yeah.
Before she would.
Well, the other thing that I saw is that Linda has. There's been a little bit of joint marketing with her and Fred Chavis. Do you think that can move the needle for Mr. Chavis?
I think, in my opinion, I think it'll move the needle against Ms. Murray. I think that was an error.
Yeah.
I don't think Mr. Chavis has the reputation or the presence to be in the same advertising as Ms. Murray. And frankly, I don't know that he has the bona fides.
Yeah, I would agree to a certain extent. I think I'm on the record of saying when we talked about this last, I think he'll be a great candidate in 10 years. I know that with him being unknown around the county, fundraising was a struggle for him.
It was.
I know that he recently announced that he has some signs going up, but it's a little late in the race.
It's a lot late. It's a lot late.
It's a lot late.
And I
got
to tell you, and it was early on. It was before the primary. I had lunch with Mr. Chavis. He's a very likable guy, but he really, at least in the lunch that I had, he didn't do a great job of articulating his particular positions on issues, or even what issues he thought were hot buttons. Now, maybe I asked the questions wrong, and again, it was in the context of a 1-hour lunch, and there were others at the lunch. So, I didn't have his full attention, he didn't have mine. So maybe it's nothing. But I was struck by that, because usually people that want to get into politics have no shortage of words to talk about their positions and what's wrong with the system. And I didn't hear that from him.
Right. So in this day and age, does the teachers union endorsement mean anything in regards to this county's race?
Not in Washington County. The majority of Washington County residents, I don't think this is any surprise, is going to vote center or right.
Absolutely.
And center or right largely doesn't support teachers unions to the same extent that center left and left does.
Right. Right.
So no, I don't think it moves the needle.
So we've kind of went through this. So you're going chalk here. You think it's going to be the three incumbents that Evans,
I think it
Gaspard,
is.
and Murray?
Yeah, I think it is.
And you still going to hold with Anthony Williams being the wild card?
I think Anthony Williams is going to be the wild card. I think I think Evans doesn't have a lot of a track record at this point, so he may be at risk.
He was appointed in 2020, so he's had a year and a half to 2 years in the seat.
Yeah. Mr. Gaspard, I like him, but he can be polarizing. So.
But he's made it through the storms, though. So would you consider him a lock?
I consider Linda Murray a lock.
Okay.
I consider.
And that's saying a lot, right? In a conservative county, you're saying the Democratic-leaning Board of Ed person is going to be.
I view her as a centrist. I don't view her as a hard left Democrat.
I wouldn't call her hard left, but I would still call her a Democrat.
Okay. And believe it or not, the Democrats probably have some good ideas from time to time, as do the Republicans.
That's not what I see on social media. So.
Well, I understand that, and we all believe what's on social media, right?
Absolutely, we do.
I think in reverse order of their ability to lose, I think Linda Murray's not going to lose. I think Michael Gaspard is second, most likely not to lose, and I think Darrell Evans is potentially the one that could be ousted.
All right, so let's have some fun here. Rank them 1 through 6.
Murray, Gaspard, Evans, Williams. I don't know the last two. I don't know between the last
You'll
two.
just say a tie for fifth between the last
Yeah.
two. I would say since we are in conservative Washington County, I'm going to go Guestford 1.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I'll go Guestford 1. I'll go Murray 2. I'll go Evans 3. And I got the other 3 tied for fourth.
Really? So
Yeah.
you don't think Williams has an advantage?
No, I really don't. I
Even
mean,
though he is in education, not
He
public
is
education.
he is in education. He has Beacon House, but
And oh, by the way, rumor has it that Beacon House has captured the attention of some state folks.
yeah, I mean they're getting some funding in, but Anthony can be polarizing.
Okay.
And I haven't seen any.
Okay, but let me just say this
Shoot.
about that. Sometimes the topics we want to talk about the least are the topics we need to talk about the most. So
Okay.
I don't necessarily take polarizing as bad.
I do from the context of my interactions with Mr. Williams.
Okay. Fair point.
From that standpoint, and I have not seen any campaigning outside of Beacon House.
Well, there's a little bit.
I haven't seen any.
But let me say this. Would you agree that Mr. Williams is infinitely passionate about Beacon House?
Of course he would. He's the.
Okay.
It's his baby. So
Then
yes.
by extension, would you agree that if he applied that same passion to the Washington County school system, that might be a recipe for success?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, because I just think that there are some personality traits that can prevent that. I mean, you know, we could say the same thing about Mr. Chavis. He's passionate about children as well. But I just think that there's some maturity and growth there that needs to happen to be effective in that seat.
Okay. But
So
Mr. Chavis was a former teacher.
Yes,
He's held other positions.
yes,
But he doesn't have the administrative experience that Mr. Williams has.
no, and he doesn't have the budgeting experience either.
Mr. Williams has started an organization.
Yep.
It has, by all counts, at least from my perspective, been very successful.
Yes,
That's got to count for something.
it does, but a lot of that is within the city limits of Hagerstown.
Which arguably is probably one of the most complex municipalities to deal with in Washington
Yes,
County.
but how does that affect the voters in the county that don't know Beacon
Well,
House?
so the structure is in the city of Hagerstown, but I don't believe, I mean, maybe I'm wrong here, but I don't believe all of his students are from the city of Hagerstown.
You make some excellent points. I'm sticking with my Guesser 1, Murray 2, Evans 3, and I have a 3-way tie for fourth between those 3.
Okay, fair enough. I'm not talking you off the ledge.
I just don't see it, but it'll be interesting to see what things look like that night. Next up, let's talk a little bit about Register of Wills. We have Jason Malott.
Yeah, all in.
Running against Lacey Fluke. Yeah. Now, the concerns that we talked about in this race, when you looked at the primary, significantly more Republicans came out, and so the vote total was significantly higher for her than it was for Jason. But in the past, you said that didn't bother you at all. You
Doesn't
think Jason
bother
is
me
a
at
lot.
all, because we do have independents in this county.
Yes.
And I think the independents are going to break in large part for Mr. Malott for a couple reasons. Number one, despite the fact that his opponent has some relevant experience in Frederick County, the fact of the matter is not only has Jason been an extraordinary leader, you know, he also is well represented in the county. People know him. Outside of the Register of Wills, he's served on boards. He's
Yes.
been involved in many community-based activities. I'm just not sure that Ms. Fluke, regardless of her experience, is going to be able to catch up there.
Yeah.
And if you look at the Herald Mail had a nice background type thing of the asking both candidates for what their background was. Mr. Malott talks about his experience first in the Register of Wills office, and then as a deputy, and then as being elected Register of Wills in 2010. Ms. Fluke talks about her experience in Frederick County Register of Wills, which is similar, but if you're all even, why wouldn't you go with the person you know has done the job, who can do the job, and
Right.
who is already well embedded into our community?
Right. I don't know anything about Ms. Fluke. I know Jason because I've served with him. I saw him a few weeks ago, and he said, one of the unique things about campaigning is that he has to actually do the job while he's still campaigning.
Yep.
Which is a bit of a challenge, and I know he's waiting for that to be over. In looking at it in regards to kind of how things are moving and how there's a lot of Republican energy around sending a statement during midterms, I just don't know if it'll affect this race or not. Your feelings are you think independents are going to break largely to him, and that's going to settle the race?
I think they are, and I don't think that, I personally don't believe that this is a partisan race. I don't think a Democrat is going to do the job far differently than a Republican.
No, I don't. I just think, though, that if significantly more Republicans or right-leaning individuals are going to the polls, that could move the needle.
Do we have a lot of far-right Republicans in Washington County? We got a couple. We got a couple of far-left Democrats.
You would be a better judge of that than I am.
I don't think we do. I think a lot of our Republican constituency in Washington County is center, maybe a little right of center, maybe moderately right of center. But I don't think we have a lot of far-right people who are just out on the outer edge. We have some, I'm sure. We have some on the Democratic side.
Yeah.
But we're generally a centrist community. We're center-right.
Well, I think the thing that could possibly take Jason over the top is not just his work in the Register of Wills and how people respect that work, but it's his community service.
100%.
Because he's well known in many parts of the community, so I think that will take him over the top. But it'll be interesting to see how those numbers came in because of the energy behind what Lacey Fluke received in the primary.
Well, and if you talk to the staff at the Register of Wills office, and I have one personal friend who works there, he gets rave reviews for compassion, for work ethic, for leadership. You name the category, he gets rave reviews.
Yeah.
I don't know how you ignore that.
Yeah. Let's do this, Jim. Let's hold tight and take a break here. But let's cover two more. Let's come back and cover two more races. Let's go congressional 6.
Okay.
And let's talk county commissions
Let's
when we
do
come
it.
back. All right. Stay with us. We'll have a little bit more election predictions after the break. Welcome back to the show, Jim. Let's pick up and talk about District 6 here. We have the race for the House between the incumbent David Trone and the challenger, the frequent challenger, right, Neil Parrott. Article came out in the Herald Mail today that Parrott received more in contributions, but Trone obviously has more cash because he infused his campaign a few months back with $10 million.
Yeah, that's hard to match.
Yeah.
Well, the last time we talked about this, I think, Mr. Turner, you had it 70-30 in favor of Mr. Trone. I had it 75-25 in favor of Mr.
Well,
Trone.
I've been revising kind of every week. I think.
And by the way, Mr. Moore had 90-10, so he was a shoo-in.
Yeah.
I have too revised my estimates. What say you?
Well, a couple things. Let's give some context here. I always talk about 538 and their polling. Right now, out of 100 chances, they give basically Trone 70. Like there's 70 avenues for him to win, and there's about 30 avenues that they see for Neil Parrott to win. But when you look at the vote share, you're looking at about 3 points. They're showing Trone up by about 3 points. And when it comes to polling, just to give a little bit more meat on the bone, there's really only been 2 polls done in regards to this race. So there's RMG Research that did a poll back in August that had Parrott up by 2. And then KA Consulting did a poll that was just released April 18th, and that one has Trone up by 5. The thing is that Trone is, he's been making his rounds, right? He's been beating the street a little bit here in the city and surrounding areas. He's been promoting dollars that he has brought in. He got he kind of got a ringing endorsement from the president on his visit here in regards to and saying that basically Trone has secured the money for the I-81 improvements. My guess is that in the next week or so before the election that he'll come out and tout that project's going to get done. I just think that Trone kind of has the energy, but I look at the rally that.
So with all due respect, you're saying that if Congressman Trone isn't able to buy the election with the $10 million infusion, he wants to buy it with the I-81 project. Is that a fair statement?
I'm a kinder, gentler Reggie, so I'm not going to accuse anyone of buying the election. He is just touting numbers of, not pork, but money that.
Would you
that he's
agree
brought
that the
home.
timing is very convenient for Mr. Trone?
It is very convenient that that he gets a favor from President Biden to come to the community to tout that the 81 project is going to get done. Yes, it is that timing basically showed that this was a hot race and he needed a little help.
Well, first of all, I'm not sure that President Biden showing up in Hagerstown helps Mr. Trone's case, number one.
Agreed.
As evidenced by the president's first statement at the Volvo appearance.
He had
Let me give you 2 words,
He gave me
made
2
in
words.
America.
I watched it and I was like,
So, yeah, I have Trone down at this point.
that's a flip for you.
It is a flip. I am 65 Parrott, 35 Trone.
Wow.
So he lost 10 points.
Wow. Oh, this is tough for me.
Let me tell you why. Can I tell you why?
Sure, shoot.
So I made a deal about the Herald Mail thing and the tattoos.
Yes.
And I cannot tell you the number of people that have come up to me and said, he was a new politician.
That's been forgiven.
The benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
We all say things that we may regret later.
Because it was 2005.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know whether he regrets it or not, but the point is, you're right, it's 15 years ago.
Right.
Do you want somebody to judge you today based on what you did 15 years ago?
I don't want
Depends
anybody
on
to
how
judge me on
egregious
what
it
I did
is.
last week, but yeah.
Yeah, it depends on how egregious it is.
Right.
But in the total scheme of things, that's not very egregious.
Right.
Number 2, I think this Herald Mail article today that points out that Mr. Parrott got more donors but less donations points to the fact that this is indeed
There's
a national.
energy.
Yeah, there's energy, and this is a national race. And Mr. Parrott, I think, is holding his own in terms of his donors. And I think that number of donors, even though Mr. Trone may be able to buy more ads, attack ads, the fact of the matter is Mr. Parrott is got more ears in the county, in the district where it needs to be. And the other thing is, I think there was a a debate, a forum this week, hosted by the chamber, and I did not see it, but from all accounts that I've heard, Mr. Trone was not, he was dodging questions or I don't think that serves him well here.
Right. I think that Congressman Trone has been on a marketing campaign. Like you said, I don't know if that serves him well, even with the president's visit. The other thing I know that, Ted Cruz, was it Ted Cruz
Ted
that was
Cruz
here?
was here, yeah.
There was energy behind that. I think
There was.
I think there was over 500 people on Roscoe
was.
Bartlett's farm for that.
Yep.
So it seems like, Trone has thrown money from the helicopter trying to win this, but Parrott has stayed quiet, created no controversy, and has basically working grassroots. Now, If you drive anywhere in rural Frederick County, all through the areas that were picked up, you do not see a Trone sign anywhere.
Yeah.
So I do.
And the redistricting helps Neil
Yes,
Parrott.
absolutely
100%.
does. And that's what I've been saying since day one.
But see, I just said it, and it means more when I say it.
Yeah, it does mean more when you say it. I got to ask you about everything. The only thing that I'm thinking that will this race have enough energy to overcome all the money that's been thrown at this by Trone?
Well,
And part of what Trone's strategy has been is that money has been filtering down to local candidates. If you look at 2B and Brooke Grossman, money's been filtering down to kind of
who's also going to lose, by the way. But
help
that's another
those
story.
candidates. And I've talked to some friends in Frederick, and the same thing. That, some of that money has been filtered down to kind of build the energy up there.
Bottom line, you were 70-30 in favor of Trone. What are you today?
Well, I think I was 55-45 last week. You didn't update this as of last week. I was
okay,
55-45 Trone
Okay.
2 weeks ago.
So where are you today?
now,
When you-
51-48 Trone. 51-48 Trone. I'm going chalk with
Within the margin of error.
within the
almost.
margin of error,
Okay.
because this is all about turnout.
Yes, it is.
It's all about turnout. And if you look at things from a national level, if our country, to the extent, had forgiven Trump for all the things that he has done over the span of his career, then obviously they would give Parrott
The benefit of the doubt.
a break
Yeah,
on this when
yeah.
he first started
Well,
in
again,
politics.
it's 15 years ago.
Right.
Yeah. County commissioners.
County commissioners. Let me pull that one up.
So you were 100% in for Barr, 100%
Yeah.
in for Klein, 100% in for Harvey,
Yeah.
95% in for Kiefer, 100% for Wagner, 5% in for Williams.
Yeah, I'm like 1% for Williams right now. I just don't see it. I don't see the energy there.
Are you staying solid on everything else?
Yeah, I'm staying solid on everything else. I've seen a lot of Williams' campaign run on, you have a choice. I mean, that's kind of been a lot of the message. You have a choice and to do things differently. But I just don't see the energy there. And I don't know how much energy you could build just kind of running around with the other Democrats, many of which they aren't going to win.
Well, I would agree with that 100%. I think, like Ms. Murray in the school board race, I think the other Democrats do nothing but
Drag you down.
drag him down.
Right.
So that is not a political strategy I would advise him to continue in the last
And it
couple
looks,
of weeks.
from the looks of it, he doesn't have a team. It's just himself, and he's been working hard. And
He has been working hard.
I admire the work ethic. I
you know
just
what?
don't think that it's going to move the needle.
And maybe he's not articulating it on Facebook to the best, but if you talk to the man, he knows
Right.
what he's talking about. It's reasonable, logical, fiscally responsible
Yeah.
process.
No, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be very truthful with you. He's got my vote.
Yeah. And Dave reached out to me to, for us to sit down and have coffee. Dave, I apologize. I've been really busy. No knock to you, but just in regards to the numbers and kind of looking at this thing, yeah, Sterling Sanders is at a 0 for all of us. I'm staying chalk there.
I'm putting Williams at 25. I'm moving.
Oh, you bumping him up 5%.
bumping him up 5%.
Is that based on your endorsement on
No,
on the show?
it's not based on my endorsement because my endorsement and $1.59 will get you Pepsi at Sheetz, right? But it's based on the fact that if he's telling others the story that he's telling me, he's believable, and I think he'll do what he says he wants. What he says he's going to do. And frankly, God forbid we have a Democrat in county government. You know,
I don't.
I don't think
we
that's a
can,
terrible
but
thing.
I just think that if you're going to get a Democrat in county commissioners, I think that the way the demographic is set up now, there's going to have to be a legacy of work
Well,
before you even get to the election cycle with some name recognition and some things of that nature.
so one of the things that I have done in recent weeks or last 30 to 45 days, when I have free time, which is rare, but when I have free time, I will go back and look at some of the old commissioners' meetings.
Yeah.
And it is not good sometimes. And that is one of the reasons why I hope that Mr. Williams gets elected. And I would encourage our audience, you want to forget about what they're saying on paper. Go look at the county commissioners' meetings. Go find the topics that are of interest to you, whether it's the use of the surplus or whatever other topic is of interest to you.
So with the Fort Ritchie debacle and all those things, do you think that a protest vote could move the needle and move Williams up?
I don't think the Fort Ritchie debacle, I don't think many people know about the Fort Ritchie debacle, and they should. If you're not asking about that, you should be, because it is indeed a debacle. It's a travesty. But I'm moving Williams up because I believe we have a constituency in this county that is far smarter than just to say D bad, R good, or vice versa.
I don't have that much faith
All
in
right.
that. So I'm more, like I said,
So I'm 100% Barr, 100% Klein, 100% Harvey. I'm dropping Kiefer to 70% from 75. I'm 100% Wagner, and I'm 25% Williams.
yeah, I'm taking Williams down to 3%. Give that 2 to Kiefer because I gave everybody else 100.
Okay. All right.
Well, that's going to conclude our election coverage. Let's take one more short break. Stay with us. We'll have some new topics, and next up, we'll be talking about the new city logo after the break. Welcome back to the show. Jim, let's jump right in. The city is introducing a new brand. They've been working on this marketing campaign. They introduced a new logo, I would imagine, last evening at their city council meeting. When that hit social media today, there was, I guess you could call that a viral reaction within our community. And when we have our own famous Lou Scally kind of weighing in regards to that and kind of questioning the logic behind it and taking some digs at some things in the city, that caught a lot of people's attention. But what say you?
Yeah, it absolutely caught a lot of people's attention, and frankly, it should. There are so many problems with the process, with the brand, with the decisions. I don't even know where to start.
Right.
But let's start with Mr. Scally, and I have his quote pulled up here somewhere. Mr. Scally started the conversation by posting a copy of the logo and saying the following, quote, they should print the logo on 12-inch paper plates with a stick attached. Every resident should have one at the ready. When a group of dirt bikes go by, we all will hold up the logo paper plates. Bikers will be distracted, something in their pants, and fall off their bikes laughing. That post generated immediate and significant response, I think it's fair to say.
Yes.
As of this airing, or this taping, which by the way is on Wednesday the 26th.
Had like over 500
it had a lot of
reactions
posts. It had
and over 300 comments.
321 comments.
Yeah.
And yes, 460 reactions. So a lot of stuff going on here.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at the logo. First of all, we'll put the logo up on the screen and let you see it for yourself. And while you're looking at the logo, let's consider some of the comments that others put. And these are the funny comments, by the way. By the way, I think it's fair to say, and correct me if you get a different impression, but The overarching comment was, why did we outsource this to a company in Ohio? Are there
Right.
not design firms
Right.
locally that could have
Right.
done this? And we'll get into that when we start talking about the process.
Yeah.
But a gentleman named Eric says, and after that, Hagerstown will hire a firm from Illinois to come in and clean up the defecation, referring to Lou's comment. A lady named Patricia says, the logo looks like a paper plate, which frankly, I don't disagree with.
Yeah.
Gentleman named Ed says, yes, it does look like Dixie designed it for their new paper plate logo. Did they at least include the little one for the Dixie cups? Gentleman named Mike said, the design came to them while having a tuna on rye, which I thought was funny. Gentleman named Jamie says the exact same thing happened in Frederick, and by the way, it did.
Yes.
And the art community showed enough outrage that the city finally decided to scrap the out-of-town design for a proposal to local artists for a new one. I think this logo is terrible, honestly. Gentleman named Tom says, just wondering, did Dan Snyder design this? Gentleman named Cullen said, this is better suited for the Hagerstown Children's School.
Yeah.
Gentleman named Gene says, I don't believe in abortion, but this project needs aborted as soon as possible. Then Steve's comment was, nothing special about this logo, though it would also look good on a Frisbee, which I thought was interesting. A lady named Kay says, is the third letter a Q? Which if you look at the logo, the bottom of the G is kind of cut off, or it appears to. And in a particularly insightful comment, albeit simplistic, Autumn says, it's just ugly.
Yeah. You know, this is, I mean, obviously this is not unheard of, right? The county right next to this happened. And I would imagine there's going to be some type of cleanup mission to get the community involved, and it'll be, the next phase will be something that people can rally around. But the thing that you cannot erase, though, is kind of the waste of taxpayer money,
Right.
right, in regards to this process. You know, one of the things I always say
And I
is
don't know that we have a breakout cost for the logo, but the entire marketing effort was in the tens of thousands of dollars, I believe.
Yeah, I haven't seen the actual breakout. And, you know, basically this created an opportunity for people that have concerns about the direction of the city of Hagerstown to kind of take shots at other things, right, to kind of encompass that, to kind of question leadership. You know, they're going to get an opportunity to clean this up, and I would imagine it'll be something that folks can rally around. But, you know, kind of like, you know, the rocks that everyone complains about, I can imagine that this will be a campaign topic where folks are taking a hit at them, you know, in 2 years when folks are campaigning for re-election.
Yeah, you know, if there's a video, there's an associated video
Yes.
on YouTube, and if you watch the video, it talks about inclusivity and those types of things, and that's great. But I'm not sure they needed. Yeah. So number one, I don't know. Structurally, artistically, I have issues. How does this present in black and white or grayscale? I don't think very well, because they're all pastel colors, and I think it's gonna lose something when it's printed in black and white. Number one. Number two, it does look like a paper plate.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
does,
and there's some folks that posted
yeah.
pictures of paper plates. Now,
Yeah.
I know friend of the show, used to be on the show, Kim Buckler, he, on his page,
Yeah.
Free Hub Radio, I believe it is.
Radio Free Hagerstown.
Yeah, Radio Free Hagerstown. He basically opened it up and like blanked the slate,
Right, yeah.
and had people come in to post pictures, and there's a lot of funny ones
There are.
out there, and one of them was, you know, a paper plate with the logo in it. You know what this process said to me? We got some darn funny people in our community, and I understand the city will take a hit, and normally when things like this happen, folks at the city will jump in people's inbox and try to squelch the conversation, to tamp it down to not. But this one kind of just bubbled over, and there's really no controlling it. But
But you know, to me, the first thing that I saw, I didn't see a paper plate at first.
yeah,
without watching the video. So I looked at the logo. I formulated the opinion that I'm about to give. I heard. I looked at the video, and that strengthened my opinion. And then I talked to a couple people who also had the same opinion, which is basically that, it is the inclusivity. We got the rainbow of colors in here. Does this thing not look like an LGBTQ Christmas wreath? Oh, I'm sorry, don't say Christmas. Winter solstice wreath. With no disrespect to anyone's, lifestyle or those types of things. I mean, this just isn't what I would hope for our city.
Yeah, this is one of the shows I wish Terrence was here because he has more of an artistic background. It's just not visually pleasing to me. That's the best artistic value that I can give you out of it. And I am always skeptical and exhausted by efforts to overemphasize diversity and inclusion.
I couldn't agree more.
Show through your
we
actions.
Should be
show,
we should be diverse. We should.
Right.
That's right, because actions speak louder than
yeah,
we should be
cut the
diverse.
marketing.
We should be inclusive. But you know what? This is no better than some of the big corporations that all of a sudden have found this and have posted it all over there. I don't believe their sincerity. I don't believe the city. That's right. I don't believe the city's sincerity in this any more than I believe theirs.
Right.
And I don't have any evidence that the city is other than inclusive. So I didn't necessarily go into this thinking, oh, well, our city is not inclusive. I had no reason to believe that.
Well, it's overkill, right? Because you have the most diverse city council that you've ever had.
Right. This to me,
so doesn't it speak for
is
itself?
trying to be Captain Obvious.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it just makes no sense to me. And by the way, so let's talk about the process for a minute. So I didn't have time to look into the RFP process and see where the RFP, was there an RFP? I assume there was. Was it sent out to local as well as non-local vendors? I assume, I would hope that the local vendors would have gotten some sort of additional points for the fact that they were local, but somehow we get to this Ohio thing. So let's assume that we can get past that issue because that's the biggest issue I see on Lou's post, and that's the biggest issue I see on other posts that I saw on Facebook and social media today. Let's say we can get past this. How do we make this? How do we introduce this in such a way that it's going to have the least negative feedback? The answer is start socializing long before it's introduced. How many people in our community didn't even know that a logo was being designed? Lou Scally was there. And by the way, Lou Scally had a part in the video.
Yeah.
How many people didn't know that this had the city come to the constituency and said, we're doing this. We want to rebrand the city. Here's why. What does this mean? You look at the Amazon logo and it has the little arrow that's the smiley face and it goes from A to Z. You look at the Baskin 31 flavors, Baskin Robbins 31 flavors, and there's the 31 built into the BR as part of the letters in a different color. We have probably dozens, if not hundreds of examples of logos where something makes sense. This doesn't make sense.
Right. It's tough in regards to, it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
What does this have to do with Hagerstown? Other than somebody said that the little things were the rocks that everybody, or not
the thing
everybody.
Is, the logo, to my untrained eye, it doesn't represent Hagerstown. It doesn't represent the state of Maryland very well.
No.
It's lost upon me.
Doesn't represent Washington County.
No, it's lost upon me in regards to kind of where you go with that. And we have disconnects in our community. So there are not many people that pay attention to city council meetings. So this has been discussed in regards to this marketing campaign. But if you aren't close to it, you don't know that these type of things are happening.
But when you think if they don't know that not many people pay attention to city council meetings, they should know it. And if they don't, that's a problem. And if they do, then they should have looked at other ways to socialize this so that more people know about it before it comes out. That way, especially the guy that was in their video didn't even know it was coming.
Right.
right? What does that say?
Well, I'll tell you what it says. I think they're going to need to recalibrate their strategy
This is not
over
going to
the
end
next
well.
2 years.
This is not going to end well.
Because part of the issue is that their circles are small. They're very insular in regards to who they get opinions from. And they are not very open to dissenting opinions. So when you just have sycophants around you, sometimes you're not getting the critical information you need to make the best decisions.
Well, yeah, I won't assign motive, and I don't know what their circles look like, but all I can tell you is this didn't start well, and I don't think it's going to end well. And in
Yeah.
my opinion, knowing that it's not going to end well, the only other option is end it quick.
Yeah.
Either get on the soapbox and say, this is it, we hear your opinions, but we don't care, or, okay, let's rethink this.
I think they'll rethink it. The only thing is that, you know, there's going to be a portion of the money that's been spent on this project that cannot be recouped, and that'll be something that someone running for office in 2 years can hit them on in
Yeah.
regards to just kind of, you know, being wasteful of taxpayer money. You know, the other thing that's a little disappointing is, you know, it was just a year ago that the city was bragging about the survey of their citizens. So if you have a survey of your citizens asking about a multitude of issues, how do you misread your citizens this poorly when it comes to something of this nature?
Yeah.
So it's a little tone deaf. And you know, my comments in regards to their circles, you know, I'm really not assigning motive. I just know that normally when there is something that individuals don't like and they express it on social media, normally they're going to get an inbox from the mayor or a city council person trying to squelch that conversation because they don't want it out in the public. And what we saw with this is this kind of went viral within our community where, you know, not only have we seen Lou Scally's post, but all the shares of it, you know, there's a multitude of people out there.
77 shares.
Yeah, we
as
don't
of
know
this
exactly
taping.
what they're saying. And that's not to say that, you know, there are people that like it. Everybody says, oh, change is hard, and the city's trying to move forward with branding. And one of the
Change is
things-
hard, but the critical piece of change management is communication.
Right.
And in that effort, the city, in my opinion, totally failed. Totally failed.
Yeah.
Zero.
Well, in the big scheme of things, though,
It's in the big scheme
it's
of
it's
things.
not a multi-million-dollar failure.
It's not a multi-million
right?
dollar
It's
failure.
not. It's not a
But it's
stadium
another-
study type failure.
It's another thing for the naysayers of our city that, in my opinion, is doing some really good things.
Yeah.
It's another thing for them to point to and say, look how dumb we are.
Yeah.
Look how bad we are.
Yeah, it does kind of fit into the stereotype. But again, Frederick went through this as well, and they survived it, right? Welcome back. Tonight we're going to shift a little bit. There were some topics we want to cover, but we'll bring those to you again next week. But Jim, let's go on to our new
Kind of new
process.
recycled, because we used to do this, but we're reintroducing
That was before Terrence and I,
it.
right?
Before Terrence.
All right, so we're going to go with last call tonight, and I'll let you kick off last call.
BC, before Cronkite. All right, so last call is where our panelists get to say what's on their mind. And what's on my mind tonight, I've had two friends in as many months come to me with problems with their computer, and I know a little bit about technology, and essentially saying that Microsoft called them, and Microsoft said they had been hacked, and lo and behold, they let them into their computer, they let them into their bank account, they let them into their personal finance system, you know, Quicken, QuickBooks, that kind of thing. I mean, they literally were sharing this online with these people. And in one case, it was a several $100 issue, and in one case, it was a little over 1,000. And the one person called me actually during the hack, or during this, and said, you know, what should I be doing here? And I said, hanging up right now, and then shut off your internet connection. I'll be over, right? My point is this: Microsoft is not going to call you.
Right.
You really need to be careful these days. These attacks
Right.
are going up, these phishing attacks. The best advice is when you have something, if somebody calls you and says you're being attacked, say, that's great, I have somebody I work with. Call them and get their advice.
Yeah.
if it's your bank or somebody else that you have financial transactions with and you get an email that says you have to log in now because your password is whatever, fine. Get out of that email, go to a web browser, put in your bank's name so you know you're going to your bank. That eliminates the phishing opportunity.
Yes.
If you need to change your password, don't take the shortcut. Close out the browser or close out the email, open your browser, type in whatever your bank's name is, go in and do what you need to do, and probably 9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100, you really don't do anything.
Yeah.
These guys are getting very good at what they do. We used to be able to identify them because their English was not so good. Their English is getting a lot better.
Yeah. And at some point we probably need to have a show on that topic alone, and
We could.
elder care abuse and all types of scams and schemes out there
100%.
that hurt our citizens.
100%.
Tonight, on last call, I want to focus on some local topics. I think one of the underreported things in our community, and I've learned this because I have 2 daughters that play volleyball, is that our community has some of the best volleyball in the state of Maryland. And normally in Class 1A, whoever comes out of the West normally has a great shot to be state champs. So
Well, look at how many state champions we've had in this county.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this year, on Monday, the seedings will come out for the playoffs. And in 1A, we have Boonesboro, that's the top-ranked team in 1A. You have Clear Springs, Smithsburg, and Williamsport, all which are excellent teams. And I feel like one of these teams is going to be the state champion in 1A. They play excellent. The majority of these girls play club. They're passionate about it. They're uber athletic.
And they have extraordinary coaches.
Absolutely. They have extraordinary club coaches. Their high school coaches are amazing. So kudos to our community in regards to what we have in regards to that and the 1A and the great playoffs that we're going to start to see next week. And then in 3A, we have North Hagerstown that's number 1 in 3A. North Hagerstown, the Lady Hubs have not lost a set in the county in the past 2 years. They have not lost a set to any of the teams in the county in the past 2 years. And they're the number 1 ranked team in 3A. Their first loss last year was in the semifinals of states. Coach Megan Crawford, this is her last year coaching. So she's trying to go out with the bang with this unit. And this unit has an opportunity to do something special. Personal to me because my daughter's on that team, so I'm excited to see them.
I was going to ask the question, do you have, is this enlightened self-interest?
Yeah, it's definitely enlightened self-interest because I've been following this journey of this team for the past 2 years. And then, South Hagerstown hasn't had a great season, but they are talented. They've played some of the better competition, tough. They have some young athletes there that have played with my younger daughter that I've seen that are really maturing and growing up. And, they may have an opportunity for an upset or two in this tournament as well. So I just encourage everyone to get out over the next week or so and start to go support these ladies and what they do. You're going to see a great brand of volleyball. And hopefully we'll have, 2 champions that come out of our county for this playoff season.
Excellent.
So that's what we have for last call. And that is all the time that we have for tonight. So we hope that you'll like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and send us your comments to feedback@theflipsidetv.com. That is feedback@theflipsidetv.com. But most importantly, we hope you join us again next week for another episode of The Flip Side.